One thing that's really interesting to me is like I couldn't actually really track down how Shatner was selected. Presumably it was Roddenberry and a joint decision with the producers. But I don't know how he was actually. I know he was doing well.
I'm not familiar with it, but he hasn't gone into that in any of his books.
I don't remember it in Star Trek Memories.
I mean, I did. I tried to research it as much as possible, and it just seemed to be that he sort of manifested, and Roddenberry. I don't know if Roddenberry knew his work from the theatre, or he was. Shatner was starting to make a name for himself as an actor.
Their casting.
Yeah.
I mean, you can talk about Bob Justman seeing Patrick Stewart at the Shakespeare Festival at UCLA.
Right, we don't have that story for Shatner.
Right,
You're absolutely right, Larry.
So I'm just doing a preliminary research, and the closest thing I can see generally in terms of when he's asked, his answer is things like talent, and it's a very he gives himself agency. I think in the thing that he was working, he had a good reputation. He was asked to come in and read, or more specifically to see the cage, and then say, "Would you be interested?"
The question we're not getting the answer to is what somebody else saw in him.
Yes.
That put him on the list of prospects. I mean, the quote I have from him was, I was in New York doing some work. They called me and said, would you come see the first pilot, with the idea of me being the second, with the idea of being the captain in the second pilot. I watched it and thought, oh my God, that's really good. Why didn't they buy it? The actors were a little ponderous, like the helmsman, turnabout, starboard. You've been out 5 years in the middle of space. Wouldn't you say, hey, George, turn left. There's a meteor coming. Well, get out of the way. So I added a little lightness. Then it's sold, and that's the answer. But again, it doesn't answer the question of why Shatner was hired.
So I watched.
I'm assuming it was Joe D'Agosta's casting list.
Well, this is the thing. I watched the whole. He was interviewed on stage for a convention a few years ago. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah,
it's
talked about
on
Star
YouTube.
Trek
I watched it.
Okay.
It's Joseph D'Agosta, the casting director, and he talks about how he was brought onto the show for the second pilot, specifically for that. And he talks about how he found Nichelle, and that's the reason why she was cast. But he, in an hour-long interview, he doesn't mention anything about Shatner. But I think if he had been the person who found Kirk, I think he would have mentioned it. So I'm still confused. I did do quite a lot of research. I watched quite a lot to try and find
and it's interesting that none of us in various guises, in various functions across our professional lives, people would have turned to any of us to ask that question, and none of us have the answer.
But whoever did cast him, props.
They're the saviour.
Yeah.